This is Geek Gab with your hosts, Dornall and me, Daddy Warpig. We are back. Geek Gab for Saturday, April 29th, 2023. Dornall, how was your week?
It's been a mixed week. I tell you what. Just so that you guys know, I had to move the home office. I'm on Wi-Fi for the foreseeable future. So if audio on the podcast gets choppy, don't complain. No one's going to care. But I do
So,
hope
so we're back to that grand old tradition of technical problems.
you bet. Run
Oh,
without
and there it
enough
goes.
technical problems, and it feels like we're back. Did I just break up on you?
Just a bit.
Oh, my apologies. I hope everything's okay live and on the stream later. It also means no camera, which is not something we do anyway, but no camera. Let's see. That's pretty mixed. I'm excited to talk to you about the
I
Seattle
myself just
last
moved.
weekend. That was cool.
I myself just moved.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I
Tell me
moved
more.
into a house. Moved into a house with gigabit internet.
Ha! The tables have turned.
Nope, because I'm on Wi-Fi right now,
Womp womp.
and it turns out that the Wi-Fi I'm on is uh, as slow or slower than what I was on in the old place, and so until I can get something else done, my particular uh, my particular situation here is going to be uh, just about the same. Sorry, I just realized I had something loud playing behind me that I meant to turn off before the show began.
Hey, for what it's worth, the noise canceling is working really well. We use StreamYard for our uh, our audio here, and I got no complaints about the service.
Um, let's see. Oh, I also wanted to say this uh, because of some stuff I saw on the internet this last week. Um, and this isn't referring into any one specific situation. It happened to several of them. Uh, there's some people I saw. I saw people looking at, you know, other people, other groups specifically, and other individuals, and are looking down on them or wishing they could be other individuals or groups. And all I have to say is, you don't know what it's like being other people. So very often, if you did, you wouldn't want to be them. So you might find out that you're actually really, really happy with the good and bad things about being yourself. So stick with those. Make the best you can. And if things aren't going really well for you, and a lot of times they're not, and I'm not trying to lie to that, I know how bad that can be. Uh, Reach out to other people because they can definitely help you through that. Sorry,
Sound
that's my
advice.
reflections on the internet instead of dragging out
Vague
specifics that are damn depressing.
advice.
Well, it's actually really good advice that's applicable to a lot of situations. If I try to make it more specific, it uh, wouldn't be useful to
Less
people.
helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I could point to one guy and say, "Hey, everybody, get off this one guy's back." Um, you know, uh, but no, because I don't really care as much about that one guy as I do about everybody listening to the show or who might listen to the show. I don't care if you get off that one guy's back. As much as I say, if you're in a bad position and you're looking at other people and saying, man, I wish I were somebody else, or I wish I were in somebody else's shoes, don't worry about it. You know, you've got the good things and the bad things about your situation. So, um,
Envy's no fun, especially you.
yeah. Wow. Your wireless is bad, man.
Well, we'll have the. I think it's you. We'll have the audience check in here.
Oh, is it me?
Although
That could really be me.
it it could really be. It could just be you.
So this could either be the best week to do BoneBat or the worst week to do BoneBat.
So, well, by saying that for I think with the third year in a row, I went up to Seattle. I took the fiance up to the capital district of Seattle. If you know, you know. And at the Sif Egyptian Cinema down on Capitol Hill, went and sat down to watch a bunch of scary, stupid, funny, stupid at the BoneBat Comedy of Horrors Film Festival. Luke West Mercurius says it's me. Uh-oh. Sorry, guys. I will speak slowly. In First of all, this uh, is a really nice venue. The Egyptian cinema has sort of balcony seats in it. It's not a large theater by any means, but it's it was actually really nice and comfortable to sit in and enjoy. And we were there for nearly 10 hours, I want to say. I think we were there for 9 hours. Uh, so I liked the place. The location could leaves a bit battle. If you know, you know. But this year was great, hosted by Steve and Gord of the BoneBat Show. They do their own podcast infrequently, but go ahead and check them out if you like horror or indie music or whatever. We were treated to 9 hours, and it ran all the way. I think it was an 11-hour show. I only 9 hours, but it was more or less nonstop shorts that are uh, horror films, but also goofy. There's a lot of humor in these films that we're not trying to take ourselves seriously. Um, which, unlike the latest Evil Dead film, uh, we warmed ourselves up to the film festival Friday night by seeing The Evil Dead. Reform or whatever. It's a dead brand. It's now an undead brand. Have you seen that yet, DW?
No, I wasn't really planning on it.
Good. Don't. It's not good. Um, the new Evil Dead has Deadites, but it's not a rehash of the original Evil Dead films, which is to say, it's not. It's a standard horror film with a dozen Easter eggs and callbacks to the monsters from Evil Dead. So there you have it in a nutshell. But we warmed up for it. And so the Bone Bat is more like Evil Dead and Army of Darkness. That sort of goofy, over the top buckets of blood and fake organs and whatever. They love that stuff. Plus the obvious horror with a more comic punchline at the end. So we got hours and hours of that, and they have a bunch of different types of films they bring in. They get movies from all over the world, and they view them and they select the ones that they want to show us. But they keep in mind that they always have a certain number of films from the Pacific Northwest. Stuff where, and it's not just Vancouver. Like you see lots of Portland and Seattle and everything. So you get lots of local indie films, plus a lot of stuff from around the country and around the world, stuff that they find funny or gory or interesting or funny. Did I say funny? I'm just testing the internet. This year, we were treated to a big mixed bag of films. There's a lot of hits and a lot of miss, and some of them were sort of I don't get the joke. Maybe I'm getting a little old, or I'm not sure why they thought this was funny. But the hits were absolutely hilarious. One of our favorites was an animated short from the Pacific Northwest called Fall. And it's about autumn, and it's great. This great dramatization of uh, maple leaf falling, turning brown, turning orange and brown and falling. I like it. I don't know if it's available online or anywhere. That was really cool. Um, my favorites include there's a haunted house story about a punk band, and they're shooting a video in this house that's sort of known to be haunted by at least one of the band members. And the twist is it's haunted by um and if you think that sounds horrible, I can hear you cringing in your chair right now. Trust me. What a good what a good short. They totally play up any sort of gag or joke you can think of with a mime running around a haunted house killing people. They do it. Really funny stuff. Uh, good jokes too. I'm not going to spoil anything. And I'm not going to give you the title because it's something awkward like the Mage Warrior something in the haunted house of I don't know what. I should have taken notes. Oh, I broke up when I said the twist. It's a mime. The ghost that haunts the house is a mime, and so it's this punk band who have to deal with this silent killer. Um, and I'll spoil one gag. The one obvious gag that was really great. The band starts throwing things back at the mime, and he does the whole mime wall thing. And of course, all these objects, like a kitchen knife and a chair and whatever, they just bounce off the invisible wall in front of the mime, right? Like all that sort of stuff. Whatever you can think of, they do it. So yeah, I had a really good time. I mean, like I said, despite the misses, the are a lot of fun. I also want to call out there is a French animated film that this one is a little more serious. They animated H.P. Lovecraft's The Temple. And it was a little awkward because the art style was a little bit uncanny valley, like a Polar Express almost. Not as bad as Polar Express, but
So it's
um,
computer animated, not traditional.
that's right. And the it was a French film, but the story is from the notes, the written letter of a German U-boat captain in World War II. So the characters jump between French and German a bit, and and that was a little strange to hear. Um, but of course, I don't know. I don't recall if I've ever written the story, but read the story. But the way they presented the story is really cool because it's got a lot of those haunting moments where the crew's feeling the pressure of being underwater and sinking and everything else that happens, and with the Lovecraftian style ending, that was really notable. Despite its faults, that was one of my favorites of the show. Um, Speaking of French, one of the duds was from Quebec, a show called Nude, and it was just this couple driving out in the woods so that they can go do what young couples do out in the woods, and all of a sudden they're surrounded by a bunch of other nude people, and nothing happens, and it was completely pointless.
How is that horror? I mean,
The way it was presented and shot, right? It's one of those, kids go out to fool around in their car, and there's these the suspense building shots with and the camera turns back, and all of a sudden there's a person standing there who wasn't there a second ago, right? They're using these tropes without any
oh, jump scares.
jump scares, and yeah, that sort of thing that I don't know. To me, it's old hat. Which now that I think about it, was half of the Resident Evil or the Evil Dead film. It was all it was. Oh no, something's happening in the background that the character can't see, but you can see, and it's scary. Well, guess what? It's not. I'm sorry, it's not.
See,
Um,
they did that really, really well in it, in like, the it that they broke into in the very first one. They did that really, really well in like one scene. And I guess now everybody thinks you could make an entire horror movie around that.
yes, they do. They did. Evil Dead was that scene over and
Okay.
there were
Well,
other
that's not.
trope scenes that broke it up, but yeah, that scene gets overused everywhere. Um, there's one more miss that I wanted to talk about. There was one more miss, a really, really stupid movie that actually they Stephen Gord picked this because of this cool technical thing that it did. All right, the film is called Love Seat. Really stupid. It's about this guy who is a salesman at a furniture store, and he's in love with his love seat. He refuses to sell it to any of the customers. It's stupid, but the filmmakers did this really, really cool scene that was done with a mounted camera and it's like on some suburban USA street, right? And the camera's looking uh, the characters watching, and the camera rotates 360 degrees. Actually, I think it does it twice. I think it does 720. So it's done as if it was one shot, and it might have been one shot. But the first part of the shot, they used time lapse photography to while the camera's looking at the street, it goes from night to day. So by the time it's morning time, the camera has slowly panned back to the front of the house where the people who live there, you know, the day, right? And then the camera does another circle where it shows what people on the street are doing. Like someone's watching the house and he gets out and he heads towards the house, and then the camera goes one more time back to the driveway when another car pulls in. So I think it was a little over 720 degrees. And it was done as in one shot, and it was just the camera rotating at a consistent pace the whole time. Um, uh, which is funny. I think my date was asleep at that point because it was such a boring, stupid show. But sure enough, at the next break, you know, the hosts come up and say, "Hey, how about that long single take shot, huh?" And I'm thinking, yeah, that was literally That film's only saving grace was that. Um, so anyway, that's the sort of thing you get when you get there. Like independent film, low budget filmmakers, uh, they make the crazy, gory, funny stuff that you know and love, and and sometimes they do really really cool stuff. You're not going to get your big budget films. So if I didn't know that was my thing, but if indie films, if you like indie films or you like seeing what people come up with, a film festival like BoneBat is an awesome place to find a collection of those things because uh, out there, like there's so many filmmakers out there, and of course content on the internet where you can just stream YouTube videos all day. Thanks for listening, by the way. We appreciate you. Uh, that it's cool. I think it's really nice and important that these guys have been getting together for like 10 years and just finding a bunch of stuff that they like that is in their wheelhouse, their sense of humor. They think that they're gonna like it, so they just get it all together and put those films that you otherwise would not have seen or even think to see right there in front of you. It's a cool experience. And that's all I have to say about it. It was a great time.
Awesome. And we do this every year, so it's good. It's also good with the passing of code that they've been able to go back to doing it in person.
That's right. I think they actually didn't do a show in 2020, and then in 2021 it was online.
So
We all sat down and watched online, and it was good to have it actually in person for the second year in a row. Oh, and they have live music. I went to dinner during the live music, so I don't have I don't have an opinion on that. But how many film fests do a live band rocking out?
I've never actually been to a film fest.
About time to
Uh,
start.
but all right. Speaking of things broadcast over I wanted to do some analysis of D&D, AD specifically.
Ooh, this is one of my favorite topics.
Because I've actually thought about this long enough to get it down to a really, really quick a really, really quick thesis, but I think it could be explored more deeply. I mean, that is, I think it can be embellished in between them. And I think that, and then the other thing I wanted to talk, the other subject we had planned for today, that's right. Sorry. Yeah, I don't want to disappoint our audience because
You don't want to do that.
I know they expect us to come up with topics off the top of our head and fill the hour or hour and 15 minutes of our show with things that we just happened to have seen during the week and talk about, or that we just come up with as we do this show. But I actually sat down a couple of days ago and made a list of things I wanted to talk about. And then last night, I texted the entire list to Dornall, and I included his section. I anticipated the bit that I knew he would want to talk about. So we had the show scheduled and planned. So I guess it's a good thing we had some technical difficulties so you wouldn't feel like you were suddenly watching a completely different show. Like you had walked into a room and there were two complete strangers sitting here doing Geek Gab, and you were wondering what the hell was going on. So, the two other topics on the burner for today, one of which was talking about some stuff with catching up with AD&D, catching up in levels with AD&D characters. And I'll explain that in a little bit. I've gone over this subject enough times after I came up with the idea that I'd actually condensed the thesis enough to where I could put it entirely in like one typewritten line with just a few, phrases. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about was Professor of Rock. So which one of those sounds most interesting to you?
I gotta say, I don't know what Professor of Rock is, and it sounds like something I'd hate to hear about. So
Really? You don't like music,
it's
do
got to
you?
be D&D.
That's so sad. I love
I do.
music.
I just don't know what it is.
Uh, Music is beautiful. Music is awesome. I love music. I don't know that I've ever on this show ever told people how much I love music. I don't know that I've ever sat down and tried to describe how much I love music. I love music just to an insane degree. I I collect music. And I don't mean LPs or CDs or cassettes. I don't collect physical objects that I can show other people and say, look at my music collection. Isn't it awesome? I collect pieces of music, and whatever it's on is just an item that the music is stored in so I can listen to it. And I love to listen to music. Music is just so beautiful and amazing. And I don't like every kind of music, but I like so many different kinds of musics. Uh, and I just love listening to it over and over again. I will find an album or a song and get like completely obsessed with that and just listen to it again and again and again for like weeks because I love it so much. And it just, I mean, there's songs to listen to and they bring pleasure to your head. And that's awesome. You just love listening to them. But there is music that just like brings out emotion in my heart. And it's not love like loving anything else. It just, uh, the best thing I can think about, the best words I've ever heard that could describe it is actually lyrics to a song. And I think Roberta Flack wrote it. If you'll excuse me for getting hipster for a second, but the song I know it from isn't Roberta Flack's version. Roberta Flack wrote it about Eric Clapton. It's the Fugees did a version of it, and it's she was listening to Eric Clapton play and wrote a song about it. It's called. She said he was strumming my pain with his fingers, and it's almost that when you hear the music, it's like it's just strumming your heart, right? It's just making your heart feel love because the music is so good and you love it. And it's not the emotions itself that the song is evoking. It's not the melancholy and it's not the joy and it's not all of the stuff that the song can evoke. It's just that it is evoking this really poignant and focused and tender love for how great this piece of music is. And I have over 10,000 songs in my iTunes, and I listen to them as much as I can. And sometimes I discover songs that I haven't listened to in like 2 or 3 years. I'm just shocked because it's a song I love so much. And I can't believe it's been 3 years since I've heard it. And I'm like, completely flabbergasted. I haven't listened to it in that long. And I'm so happy at the same time to go back and listen to it. And I'm just like, feel so much joy at being able to go back and listen to the song again and be able to hear it and say, yeah, that's a great song. I am so glad I get to go hear it again and enjoy it again. So anyways, Professor of Rock, the YouTuber, and the funny thing is, he looks like a hipster. He dresses like a hipster. He wears hipster glasses. And he has this encyclopedic knowledge of music. And so you'd expect him to be this hipster of music. He does this YouTube channel, and it's called Professor of Rock. And I'm reviewing it as a recommend. And it's all about songs and bands. And he interviews everybody. I don't know how he gets these interviews, but they're crazy. He's interviewed huge name rock stars. And he just covers, each of his episodes are like 20 to 30 minutes. And he focuses on one band or one song and does the story behind them. So you get history of the song, how it was made, what inspired it. He'll tell you like, okay, this song was written because he was coming across a bridge and something on the radio that the DJ said and changed it a bit. And that became this lyric. Oh, okay. You've heard the phrase, who's your daddy? Who's Your Daddy came for the very first time in this little mellow 60s rock song. this kind of funky little tune. I can't remember the name right now, but like now I know that because of this Professor of Rock episode I watched. Is this little funky tune that's actually really cool and laid back. And he goes into the song and he interviewed the band who made it. There's like these four guys, they're British. He sat in this room with them. They talked about the song, they talked about their career as a band. And if I remember the episode correct, the band had made this song and they broke up because they didn't have any hits. And then it got released in America and it became a hit. And so the record company put together a fake band to tour with this single because the real band didn't exist anymore. So all of the episodes are like this. Just these cool little things you never heard. And a lot of them are songs I know, and a lot of them are songs I don't know, and a lot of them are songs like just last night was and I'm gonna go find this. I'm gonna open up my iTunes right now. Was a song I knew talking about him. And he this artist, and if you'll give me just 1 second, hopefully I can find it. He had a song that was on the Miami Vice soundtrack that he didn't even know about. It was on or not Miami Vice, the Vice City soundtrack. He didn't even know about. And so I went and tracked it down because I liked the single that they were discussing on the show, but I'd never heard the song that was on the Vice City soundtrack. So I went and tracked it down last night. And I listened to it, and it's a great song. And I had kind of heard it once or twice in the 80s, but you know, now I've listened to it several times, and it's a cool little song. And it's so I discovered something new that I loved by listening to this show, and that is one of the best things that happens to me just in life in general. As I'm watching a movie or watching a TV show, they got that little Shazam thing on iPhone where you can just listen to it. You have something playing, you can hit the button, and it'll just do this little pulsing thing and then tell you what the song is. And then I can add it and listen to it. And, you know, it's just, I can add a song and just have it in my music collection, and there it is, something awesome I can listen to and have another song that I love. So yeah, it is a really really fun show, a really great show. It goes into music history of the songs. And here's the thing that you know he's not a hipster. This is what sold me on the show why he's not a hipster. Is he has an episode on Weird Al, and he got to interview Weird Al. And the show is about you know, Fat. The album Fat. And how it revitalized Weird Al's career after Living with Hernia didn't do so well. And he just loves Weird Al. He just loves Weird Al's music. And you know a guy isn't a hipster if he's unabashedly unafraid to come out on a show and say how much he loves Weird Al. And the other show he did that convinced me he's not a hipster is he did a show about Ice Ice Baby. Did an entire episode about Ice Ice Baby and interviewed Vanilla Ice. It was about
Nice.
how much he liked Ice Ice Baby. And he was a teenager during the 90s, and how much he listened to that song over and over again, and how much he still loves the song. And he genuinely loves this music. It's not, you know, it's not put up job. You know, he's not faking it. These are songs he really, truly loves. And so if you love music and you love someone who loves all kinds of music and gets to interview these artists, the song is Every Time You Go Away. You take a little piece with you. So it was originally by Hall & Oates. And the story from the show that I watched last night was that it wasn't very commercially successful because they didn't think it would be. But I was watching the show and they had another single by the same artist who made it into a pop sensation. And that's the version I know and love. He had another single that was on the Vice City soundtrack. And I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. I want to go check it out. So I went and checked it out, and it's a great little song. So, yeah. And Every Time You Go Away, I don't know if you ever heard it. It's an 80s pop song. And it's a great song. I love it. So I highly recommend Professor of Rock. Paul Young is the artist's name. And I recommend Professor of Rock. He's great to watch. He does a good show. And he genuinely loves music, and he does shows about great songs. And I've discovered a lot of great music. I discovered a Donna Summers tune that was a lot of fun. And I've just either rediscovered songs I loved that I hadn't listened to for a while, or discovered stories behind songs that I didn't know about that are just interesting, or even little tidbits about songs I did know about. Like you should go watch the episode about Do They Know It's Christmas After All? Because the bit about Bono's line in there, it was the very first of those 1980s big music sort of like USA for Africa was another one that came along. But yeah, that was a great episode. And the bit about Bono's line was really, really awesome and touching. And I just that I think it's a great show. I think it is well worth putting some time in, and if you like it, great. Keep on watching it because it's awesome. And if you don't, it's at least entertaining enough to watch a couple shows on. So, yeah, Professor of Rock.
I love it. Sounds good. Thing that thrives on YouTube and podcasts. You know, the hidden history of such and such.
So let's talk about AD&D. All right. Um, so this is one of the secrets of AD&D, and I think people copy this, and I think other games copy this, but I think there's a reason for it that I've never heard anyone explicitly articulate. And so I think I might. I think I want to. I have stumbled across one of the reasons why it exists, and I want to articulate it, or I have articulated it, and I want to do it again. Because I don't think when I did it in the session, people were listening enough to understand it. So, at the same table in a Gygaxian campaign, you're going to have people come along and either start new characters because they're died, or you're going to have new players come along and sit down who can't be handed, fourth level character because they never played AD&D, or because they've never played whatever class they have rolled up stats for. Um, and the reason why, so you can't start them off at, let's say the average party level is fifth or sixth level. You can't start them off at fifth level or sixth level or even fourth level. You want to start them off at first level, but typically speaking, if you start them off at first level and they have to spend 6 months to level up to third level, they're just going to keep on restarting at first level because their characters aren't suited for the challenges the party's going up against. So let me ask Dorno. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm talking about?
The distinction between new players and new characters.
Right.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay. XP doubles every level about roughly until you reach new level. And that's how Gygax solved the problem.
All right.
Do you see why?
You're gonna have to lead me by the nose here.
Because
let me think it out, right? That if the XP doubles, and no, I don't get the distinction. Like I understand why new players should always come in at a low level in their own group, but I guess I don't see the connection you're trying to make.
it will take the same amount of XP that takes the higher level characters up one level will allow the lower level characters to catch up quicker. So that
Right. So if the XP is constant, the XP increases. So even though the rate of XP, if the rate of XP incoming is constant, then the characters that are lower level will level faster.
Right. Now, they'll still be capped, so they're not going to be leveling up super fast, right? Because they'll only get so much XP and have to stop. But higher level characters having to earn more XP to level allows brand new players who've never played the game before to gradually catch up with them to where instead of always being 5 levels behind or 6 levels behind, they will eventually be only 2 levels behind. And that's built into the game system. That's the way the game is supposed to be run.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. There's a lot of other thinking I put into it, but that's the.
So,
It's
all right.
a
So, what are the
deliberate design choice by Gygax. It allows new people to catch up with the rest of the players while still experiencing all the growth they're supposed to in learning the game.
Yeah, I guess. All right. So, my follow-up question is, so what?
No, I'm just pointing
That's.
out
I mean, that's good. That's good.
people tend to have this idea that AD&D is not a well-designed game, or that's an archaic game, or either they copy features of it and don't really know why they exist. And I'm just looking at different pieces of AD&D and trying to point out why. Well, here's another one. Why do thieves only require 1250 XP to get to first level when they have to? And gold, by the way, is XP in AD&D. When they require 1500 gold pieces to buy training for second level. I'll give you this one. Thieves have to steal at least 250 gold pieces in order to be able to afford training for second level.
Mm-hmm.
They have
Sorry,
to go out of.
I think
They
I might
have
have missed
to.
something because of my internet.
Thieves have an XP requirement of 1250 XP to get to second level, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but they need 1500 gold pieces to pay for training for second level, right?
That's right. 250. Oh, right. The extra 250 XP has to come from somewhere.
Has to come from somewhere. They're supposed to steal it. Everybody else, by the time they get to second level, already has or should already have enough gold pieces. Fighters need 2000 XP, so they should have at least, 1500 gold. Same for clerics and magic users and all of that. But thieves, they have to come up with money quicker. So they have to come up with money. It's built into the class. that they have to go out and search for illicit means of getting gold in order to pay to level up if they're going to level up when they have the XP to. It's an incentive to be thieves.
Brilliant, actually. Let's contrast it with typical games where everybody requires the same amount of points to level up, and so this does two things. First of all, it changes the scaling of the rewards and puts it all in the hands of the game master, which on the plus side, you get mechanics such as challenge rating, which gives you an easy way to measure the effectiveness or strength of a monster or challenge. But on the other hand, you don't get those interesting interactions, such as, yeah, the thief does actually level quicker than everybody else if he is actively and successfully playing a sneaky little thief.
Right.
That's a feature. That's a pretty cool feature, if you ask me.
So, and there's another one I ran across like 6 months ago. Which is which we discussed about on the show earlier, which is druids in the prime material plane. Which is why in AD&D originally there were no neutral clerics, only druids. So, yeah. There are a lot of things that are in AD&D that were not made explicit. And so because they were not made explicit, people tend to think that there's no reason for them to be there. You kind of have to analyze them deeply before it becomes obvious why they're there. Or not obvious, before it becomes, well, and there's no proof for this. I haven't found some secret writing where this becomes proof, but it is true that you need 1500 XP to level up, and you need 1250 XP and you need 1500 gold. And so the only place you're going to get that is if you acquire that gold some other way. So there it is. Gygax never made that explicit, but that seems kind of obvious. So there's no proof about it, but it seems obvious to me. Now that I've put in the, thought about it, of why that would be the case, it's just kind of obvious. So there's just some things that a lot of deep thought went into why AD&D is the way it is. And I think a lot of the mistakes that have been made in later generations of D&D is that a lot of those features were lost because Gygax never made them explicit. And I actually heard a really good explanation. I heard a really good explanation coupled with a really bad explanation. The good explanation is that after Gygax was ousted from D&D, he just walked away from it mostly. And the person said, well, I'm sure he just threw up his hands and said, screw you guys, and walked away. And my explanation is, I'm pretty sure he was, hurt to see his stuff all taken away and to have no control over it, to not be able to develop it, and to have to basically start over from scratch. That's rough. To have all this stuff that you put all of this thought and work and effort into, to have it not just taken away, to taken away in the most insulting fashion, and then to have people revise it carelessly. But there's
Yeah.
also a lot of times where once you've baked something, you yourself might not be able to go back and say, oh, hey, this is why I couldn't do that, or why I did do that. You yourself may not know why you made that decision unless you wrote it down, the reasoning behind a decision. And there have been times when, you've come up with an idea and you yourself couldn't tell 10 minutes later why you did it that way. I mean, it's kind of like programming that way, right? It was the
Yeah, it
right,
could happen.
yeah, it's the right reason to do it, but you couldn't explain it to yourself 10 minutes later. So, yeah, I just, little bit of secret, you know, the thieves' XP table is built to encourage them to be thiefly, to acquire a little bit extra treasure so they can have gold to level up when their XP tables say they should.
Yeah, I wanted to call back to what you said. It's like a version of Chesterton's fence. Bradford Walker's people bag on the game without knowing or comprehending what the machine is, how it works, or why it works that way. Yeah, that's part of it. People come in and say, "Oh, this," and it actually happens in programming all the time, like you said. "Oh, this thing would work so much better if I made it do it this other way," and then you find out that it was built. Sometimes it was built by someone less experienced, and it needs to be changed, and sometimes it was built purposefully because of the effects, the
Yeah,
second
and
order consequences.
sometimes it was built by a person who didn't know what they were doing, but it works anyway. And you just kind of have to leave it alone because every other way you go at redoing it makes it worse. So, well, that's everything I had for today.
Chat. The internet, the technical problems made it a little more difficult than usual, but yeah, I love talking about this stuff. Coming up, I don't know what we're talking about coming up. I know that we'll probably be talking to Misha Burnett. He's got a new book out. Um, plus whatever other D&D and nerdy stuff comes up. I think I'm gonna sign off for this week, DW. I hope I'm not breaking up too bad, but and I hope everybody checking this out live and YouTube enjoyed it.
We have got Picard Mandalorian are just ending, so we've got reviews of both of them next week. It's possible I might be able to go see a movie or something this week. Who knows? Um, yeah. All right. We want to thank everyone who tuned in live. Thanks for coming, listening, participating in the chat. We want to thank everyone who listened later, who will listen later. We are available at youtube.com/geekgab. That's youtube.com/geekgab. Go ahead and subscribe to the show so you will get an email address, email, for when we're going live, and you can come and jump in, or you can listen to us on SoundCloud.com, on the Apple iTunes Store, or on the Google Play Store. Listen to us on the device of your choice, or just download us to your computer. Folks, we are signing out for today, but don't you worry, don't you fret. We will be back.